that? Ace Ventura, Pet Detective? Alrighty then. Macaulay Culkin, producers removing Trump from movies. How about if the movie stars who were there say, well, wait, I want you to remove me from the movie too. Some interesting stuff on Twitter. So before I forget, it looks like North Dakota, starting on Monday, what's today, the 16th? Sounds better than the 15th. There we are, my bib. Is removing mandates and removing what? Not, I guess, occupational volume of people, how many people can occupy. That is also following up on Montana. I think they did it too. So that's good stuff. I don't have a link. Somebody put a Twitter link up. North Dakota starting Monday. Yay, Montana, North Dakota. I'm wondering if that has to do with the fact that this administration is leaving and the White House Coronavirus Task Force is no longer going to be mandating compliance with the memos from the FDA, or else their funding under the national emergency will be removed. Isn't this interesting? All right, first, before I even start on the discussion of the interview, first two links here are huge. I got a ton of stuff, but remember we were talking about the dark winter? What's interesting is I'm seeing no comments here. I'm wondering if it's working. I left comments on, I think. But the dark winter. This is an amazing little piece on it. It's about a 12-minute video. This is huge. This is done. It's a nice little film, and it analyzes this. And this goes back to the theory of bioterrorism, which is the dark winter, which ties back to the anthrax issues of 2001. It also ties into, evidently, the scenario was just like Event 201. Ah, there we are. We're there. We have comments. Okay. Okay, now y'all can hush. It's working. Testing. So the dark winter is the bioterrorism potential. And that was evidently an exercise using smallpox, like 201 was. What do we want to call that? An exercise. Now, this film is brilliant, and there's some things that I didn't know. That stuff I knew, the 201. This has the star of the film in the interview is one of Reiner Fuel Mix guys that is Dr., and I'm going to mispronounce his name. I want to say Schrader or something like that, who is pushing out of Germany. He's the guy that got arrested in London objecting to this whole coronavirus lockdown. He is excellent in here, and this is a huge little knowledge blast, okay? But he's going through the links, and you look at the picture of the Event 201, and we have the CIA, you have Bill and Melinda Gates, you have Johns Hopkins, and who? The World Economic Forum, Herr Klaus. Yeah? Now then we go into a little more into Klaus. He's got a guy named David Gergen. You remember David Gergen, don't you? I remember this guy. I said, is this the same idiot? He was a guy who was an advisor to multiple U.S. presidents and evidently started with Nixon, both Republican and Democratic presidents. I'm like, he is now on the Kennedy School of Leadership. He is also like the new right-hand man to Schwab. Now, this guy strikes me as a character who is just got to be connected to power and kind of be the little minion behind the throne to kind of steer them. Not a good vibe I'm getting on this guy. You got to watch this, The Dark Winter. Check it out. And I'm thinking with all of his experience with federal power in the U.S., he's now advising Schwab. I'm wondering how long he's advising Schwab. How long has this World Economic Forum been in play? I think we might have to get Harry Baby to come on and talk to us. Okay, the second link is also a clip, and I'm going to ask for your help. I don't remember who put this up, but this is a chunk of a larger video, I believe. And I know I saw something with Sasha Stone, but this thing has Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in it. It's got Judy Mikovits, and it has Dr. What's his name? Martin. David, I think, who is excellent. This is about a 5-minute clip where he's explaining the mRNA vaccine. These two clips are the golden nuggets for this morning's show. Campers, all right? Good stuff. Now, let's do a quick discussion on that interview yesterday. First, the video that we had the three of us set, it was supposed to be, and I'm not a Zoom guy. I use the, what is that, StreamYard, and I do live. So I don't know how the hell it got set up like that. If it was going to be all three simultaneously, I wanted it in a row. That's the way StreamYard would do it. I thought we could do it that way in Zoom, and I was hoping to have it set where the speaker is full screen, whoever's speaking, meaning has the full screen. So I thought that's what was happening. Good thing I wasn't doing anything inappropriate, like, adjusting my glasses or picking my nose while Mary was talking. I was under the impression we could all see each other, but I thought what was being presented on the screen was just the highlighted one, but that was the audio. So that was weird. I apologize. However, the content is amazing. In there, Vilma posted the link to the court opinion of, the Roman Catholic Diocese versus Cuomo that Mary referred to, which had the per curiam opinion and Gorsuch's concurrence. Excellent. I put that in the show notes there, and I am throwing that in here too, I think. Yeah. A lot of links here. Homework, campers, and people say, man, how do you go through all of this stuff and find this shit every single day? You know how I do it? I stay on it, and I don't stop. It's called persistence. And then you know what's crap and what's not, because as you go through it, you realize that this is crap. And I'll point out link number 3, which is Pechenik, which is crap. Somebody pulled the clip from AJ. It's not on AJ's channel. I hope it's still there. And it's a 40-minute blather with Alex Jones. He's taking his He-Man pills. Don't you love the voice? He's ruined his vocal cords. But we thought Robert Plant had problems. Robert has a nicer voice, but it must be those He-Man pills. But the point is, I think Pechenik is pure crap. Hogwash, poppycock, okay? He's talking about how everyone's going to get arrested. Can you say blatant delusions or lies? And after everything he says is incorrect, what's he going to do? Oh, well, that's what I heard. Or is he just going to pretend nothing happened? Or is the coup going to go the other way? That's the question. All right, now, let me go back to the interview, straighten a couple of things out. First of all, Mary was correct, but I was also. We were just not lined up right. The cease and desist letter, and it's in the links in that show, is from Reiner, but it's to Drosten, who is like their CDC guy in Germany. It's long. I had posted that a while ago. I know that he sent it, but it wasn't to the trade journal. So she was correct in saying that the trade journal, they didn't send a cease and desist letter. You had a number of scientists, I think she said about 22, there may have been even more, that demanded that they do a retraction. And the trade journal in, I forgot which one is, the Euro something, said they'll take it under advisement, they'll review, and they'll have a decision by the end of January. Now, we are in the middle of January, so it's 2 weeks, but they made that decision back in November. So, snap, they decided to publish the crap, But when the real science is coming out and a massive group of scientists is saying, hey, you need to review this, let's get this green off, then they very carefully, slowly, and deliberately deliberate upon the change, and let's see if they make the change. So that's that. But Reiner, as the attorney, sent a cease and desist letter to Drozdin and basically put him on the hook, which is what I said, and said, if you don't do this, you are going to be on the hook personally. Now, how many times have I talked about naming people in their official capacity versus their personal capacity, right? Well, this way, he's laying the foundation, Reiner is, to go after Drozdin personally. Well, now, I love that. Why be nasty when with a little extra effort you can be absolutely vicious? Remember? All right, so that is not the link here, but that's I have that, and it's in the show notes. If you haven't watched the interview, please do. I see there's about 800 views, so I'm like, I should have changed the title to Updates Special Guest or Surprise Guest, because this hits their filtration. It's an amazing interview, and she is great. Now, I had made a point in there where I was talking to her towards the end, and I'll reiterate it for you because I'll pick this up with her next time. And the question is, if you remove the liability protection from these media companies and you say, okay, they can be sued. If you watched it, what I was saying was, yes, they're holy cats. We are aware of that. I saw that thing, Norway, 23 died. Okay. You know what? I saw that yesterday morning before the story broke here. We got that from our European contingent. Okay. I also have a link here that is the scene, the video on Facebook of Reiner's meeting where the Stasi, and we're calling them Stasi, they're not Stasi, they're the police, show up. However, it's in Germany. However, I forwarded it to Zilka in Berlin. She responded. I said, can you translate this? Just give me a summary. I guess I could ping out to Reiner and say what happened. They did not get cleared out. What happened was the police definitely showed up. Don't know what they said. It was not very, shall we say, hostile, although the people in the meeting, the one guy was there, was getting a little animated, and Reiner was there, and it's very interesting. So I'll give you the link. That's here. Let me see where I have that. Yeah, that's no numbers for you. Reiners Political Party meeting visited by police. And this is at the 2-hour and 5-minute mark, and it's about a 10-minute scene. If you speak German, you could appreciate it. Otherwise, hopefully I'll get a translation. All right, back to what I was saying about Mary, in case holy cats thought they were distracting me with an irrelevancy. And the point was, I said, if they remove the liability protection and they, meaning platforms, censor people, right? How is removing the liability protection going to do anything? So let's say you've got a YouTube channel. If you have a publishing company, Simon & Schuster, and they pull your book, or they say they're not publishing it, well, they're going to have to approve it. So if the liability is removed, does this mean the platforms are going to approve it, or they're going to censor it? And by removing liability, so what happens? You get to sue them. And what's your scope of damages? How much money you lost because they interfered with your business? Okay. They defamed you? Well, that's possible. And we didn't talk about that Facebook suit, which I think had the civil RICO in it, right? It's the first one. And that was the argument of defamatory. However, remember, in the first interview, one of the brilliant arguments was that we had a letter from Schiff, who is a official government official, congressman, telling Facebook to do something. So the argument is that Facebook is acting at the behest of the government and therefore falls into RICO and or what the civil rights argument, saying, hey, this is a restriction of free speech by the government through their agents. It's a very smart play, okay? But the civil RICO, you don't need the government action. So fascinating stuff, and I was hoping we could dive into that. But realize Mary just came out of the oral argument yesterday. Let me unplug here. Hang on a second. We're going into max headroom. I think the phone overheats. And the problem is that her mind and her briefing, she was all queued up on that. And you could see the competence level and the knowledge base on the vaccines and the PCRs, because they're arguing the applicability of or the legality of going to the schools. And that was their whole case, arguing. And it was curious because the court didn't really want to hear about the experts. He wasn't worried about whether or not the test was a good test, it was a valid test, it worked, it was accurate or whatnot. He was interested to know about the legal rights. Do they have the right to actually mandate the test, whether it works or not? That becomes a secondary issue, right? So she's queued up on that, whereas she's not in the loop, like she said, with Reiner's case and a lot of the other stuff. So my point is, if you just remove the liability out of this Section 230, so people get their YouTube channel. So those people that were doing Q channels, they get to now sue Facebook or sue YouTube or Google and say, you destroyed my business. Well, wait a minute. What's the business? Are they paying YouTube? No. You've got a whole new can of worms. So now the bottom line, as I said, is you have to prove it. So how much are you going to pay, or are these little YouTubers going to pay their lawyers to go after the behemoth? I don't think removing that liability is sufficient, okay? It is not. However, I don't think removing it is going to resolve the problem. When you have Twitter banning Trump, now you have a conspiracy of other multimedia, what do we want to call them, social media companies, all doing it simultaneously. This is essentially a criminal act. And if you have an attorney general who is aiding and abetting, or what was the word we like to say, an accessory after the fact, or turning a blind eye to this kind of abusive behavior, then the question is, what can you do about it? You're going to go into civil court and sue? No. So this is our conundrum, as Greensphincter would say. You remember Greensphincter, right? Alan Greenspan? It's always tightening. Demented humor, campers. All right. Now, a couple of interesting things. That's the review. I think that was an amazing interview. I watched it. The strangeness of the camera doesn't matter. It's pretty riveting. I think I'm going to post that up on the other channel and clearly throw that into Patreon, of course, right? Now, so then third link here is Pechenik on AJ. Oh, wait. Let's go back to the scene in Washington, okay, before people get bored and click away. And what's that moron with the tobacco chew in his mouth? He goes, hey, y'all, stop clicking around. I'm in the backyard. Watch my crap because you're just clicking around. Well, I was clicking around to watch something else, not your crap. So I really can't click around until it says skip ad. And then I can go, boop. And we never see this idiot's face, do we? We just hear his tobacco tune. Hey, stop clicking around. Infuriating. And there's another one where he's the same idiot voice on the guitar. There's some girl playing the guitar and he comes out and, hey, what you doing? Oh my God. So stop clicking around. All right, bottom line. So we've got Washington, D.C. People have made the excellent point. We waking up? Let's have some coffee. Come on. And hi there, Australia. You're late in the night, but you're in time. And out here on the east coast of the U.S., you are coffee time. On the west coast of the U.S., we'll say hello to Candace. Haven't seen you yet, but it's early for you. Good morning. And in Europe, well, now. Okay. Said hello to everybody? Almost. Rebel news. Okay. We're not going there yet. Too long a comment. It's fine print. Point is, they've got 20 to 25,000 troops in Washington. A couple of people made the point that there's more troops there than there are in Afghanistan and Iraq combined. My question, hello, why? What's going on? Is this a military takeover or is this a political coup? Now, when you watch, and you must watch, this is very highly recommended, mandatory homework, required reading, A Dark Winter, okay, that first link. When they did 9/11, what did they do right after that? A couple of weeks later, we had anthrax. That was the distraction, right? We're in the same playbook, these clowns, and I want to get Webb on because he's good at this stuff. He's like, he lives in that psycho, twisted thinking world. He connects the dots brilliantly. So we have this attack on the Capitol. As the truth is coming out rather quickly, that these were the leftists, and you got this guy Sullivan that gets popped, and a lot of video gets popped. Now the question is, and I thought of it just this morning, when Twitter is removing videos of people smashing windows in, closing accounts when they have a battering ram, right? Are they destroying evidence of a crime scene? Boom. Well, that would be a criminal charge, wouldn't it? But you need to have a criminal prosecution, wouldn't you? Just a thought. Leave a thought on that one, campers. Now, so the thing is, I like that thinking. It absolutely is. And I always wonder about when Facebook takes down people's posts after they go do a mass shooting and they remove their account. So nobody can go look at what they were saying, read their little psychotic manifestos, and know what the motivations are, what notifications were there, what notice the public had in advance of these lunatics like Cruz, not Ted Cruz. What was his name? Down in Parkland, the Parkland shooter. Yeah, he wants to be a professional shooter, right? The FBI managed to drop the ball and not intervene. Curious how that happens. Anyway, back to the distraction. So they spin up the anthrax thing back in 2001, a couple of weeks later. Why? People were starting to wonder, how did that building collapse so quickly? How come there's no wreckage around the Pentagon? So as soon as the questions were starting to ask, boom, anthrax. Now, they started at the National Enquirer, I believe, down in Boca, okay, in Florida. And then you had letters mailed to prominent senators, and they discussed this in Dark Winter, okay? This is a distraction. Here's my thought. You tell me what you think. So now people are breaking through on this narrative that the media is working in collusion with the Democratic Party, claiming that these are right-wing domestic terrorists. These are Trump supporters, right? Now we're building out the domestic terrorism and the lists and the prevent to work and the ostracization and the arrests, and they're going to layer COVID on top of it, and you're going to combine people into isolation groups, containment areas, right? Like Cary in North Carolina, the containment area for relocated Yankees. There you go, C-A-R-Y. That's an acronym. Hang on, we got to spark up. Point is it time for a distraction? Well, let's see. We're making a big fuss about this inauguration. You've got massive military there. Think a distraction that happens, another self-inflicted distraction, might result in taking the focus away from who did the attack as opposed to that attack was done, this new attack was done, these are domestic terrorists, let's do what? We have an act of war, declare martial law, suspend the Constitution, or do we go along the lines and say we have to have that Domestic Terrorism Act slapped in, right? Has anybody found that? I haven't looked for it yet. I've been digging through this other crap. So that's my thought. It's time for another distraction. It's like feeding the goldfish in the pond. You throw some breadcrumbs over there. You throw it over there, and all the media goes over there, and all the media goes over here. But this is better. You could tell them, here, we're going to have breadcrumbs over there, and they'll announce that Building 7 has collapsed before it happened. Oops, we missed our timing. Just me thinking out loud. Sorry, did I have too much coffee? Pechenik on AJ. That's my thought. Watch for the distraction and the fences. And I'm going to check out Vandersteel. I didn't see it yet. Now, who did we get this one from? I got this one from Karen out in New Mexico. And I sent this to Harry. Experts want Israel to move into Central Command, CENTCOM instead of Eurocom. Really, check out this article. You want to relocate Israel to the U.S. military Central Command because of the close relationship and the need for missile defenses to protect Israel, and the other guys are going to be under NATO that could protect against a Russian thing. I mean, you've really got to be kidding me. Check it out. The next one is John Sullivan. Chat logs. They reveal violent intentions. This is fascinating. I think Meg put this up. And Meg's tidbits, I'm telling you, I got to copy and paste. One of the people on her little list said this replaces the Drudge Report. I would have to agree. And this is the kind of stuff I get on a daily basis. Like, wow. Hi, Maggie. John Sullivan, chat logs reveal violent intentions. These are the chat logs taken out of a, what is that? Not D-Link. Those servers, the Discord servers. Interesting. This guy Sullivan had a different group. It wasn't Antifa, and it wasn't BLM, although he's probably party to both. This is his little group. Fascinating stuff. But let's remove the video of him doing it because that would show what happened, and isn't that destruction of evidence, right? Purge. Now, I've got something here. Oh, this is interesting. Let's not forget. So I guess Trump authorized the release of the documents, and I have two links for you here. This is interesting. This is on, Jacqueline sent me this one, and the second one is direct from the Judiciary Committee's website, okay? Now, I think they're different. I asked her, well, did you check? I guess she wants me to check and go through them. No, that's not a good paralegal, Jacqueline. So the Judiciary Committee's there, that's Lindsey Graham. And then the release documents, I believe, and she thinks that they are additional stuff. And she told me that they are releasing them in different places. Now, I saw John Solomon talking, I guess it was last night, to Hannity for a minute or two. And so the stuff is coming out. But why is it being scattered? Is it those the feeding pellets that you throw in the fish pond, or what? Yeah, who's that? Rogel Vogel. You saw that too. I don't know, talking there or to the release documents. Anyway, it's there. So feel free to dig in because it's a Saturday here in the U.S. In Australia, it's late Saturday night. Foster's Lager Ale was one that I used to enjoy, those giant oil can size beers. And then turn up the amp at 1 in the morning and terrorize college classmates. Well now, abusing the amplification. I got to go find that shirt and put it back on. All right, so so you've got two, release documents and then Judiciary Committee. Then we have Reiners Political Party meeting visited by police. This is a Facebook link. Now, I did not log into Facebook. I removed Facebook Messenger, and it wants me to, but you don't have to. You can just play the video there. Now, I sent it to Zilka. She said over there, she had to log in. I said, no, should be able to play it. She goes, it's all right. She's plugged into another connection of Reiners out there, over there in Berlin. But at the 2-hour, 5-minute mark, you'll see where the police show up, and it's interesting. And it definitely reminds me of when I was over there, where you have these restaurants and pubs and whatnot, and it's very German and pleasant. And it's like the endless beer supply. There's no reason to overdrink too much because when you get back, it'll be there. It's like the endless river of beer. And they don't put preservatives in it by law. So you don't get you get a different buzz. Here, if you have a Budweiser at lunch, an hour later you're saying, man, I shouldn't have had that beer. It's not the beer, it's the preservatives. You have a beer for lunch over there, and it's like your head is clear an hour later. It's interesting. Okay, now, remember our Broward County nurse that I put the Twitter up? Someone was kind enough to find this, send it to me. Now it's up on BitChute, so it's a much easier watch. Check this out. This is Broward County nurse announces the COVID crisis next week. Now, there's a lot of discussion on this, and let me jump into this for a second, because I was speaking with Lin, and she's got some interesting connections and belongs to other groups and sources, the way all these people have their sources, right? So what the bottom line is one theory, and I kind of like it. I like your thinking. Check this one out. These stupid vaccines that they're distributing, right? How about if they have what we'll call placebos mixed in? At what percentage? Just a straight saline shot. So you go into public supermarkets, which just got approved to distribute. And I'll go talk to the pharmacist today, or CVS, or Walgreens. And then ching, ching, oh, yep, next. How many, or is it every other one, gets a straight saline shot? And they have no effect, and others get the vaccine. Is it possible, and it's a question, that they do that to cover the negative consequences, so less people get infected? Now, I point this out because they did this, and I forgot which one it was. They were doing it in North Carolina, I believe, and you had a lot of injuries occurring. Was it the DPT, right? So what they did is they distributed that vaccine around the country, so you had injuries all over the place, so it wasn't too obvious that it was directly related to that one. And that was litigated, okay? That's not just tin foil hat kind of conspiracy theory. It was established that's what they did, and that was disclosed from the inside, as I understand it. There's some wiggle room for you. So is it not possible that they're just kind of diluting the whole load of vaccines with placebos, just straight saline? This way, you're not going to see the injury, and this way they could reduce it and say, okay, thank God, and then they come back with the second one. All right, I don't know. I'd like your thinking on that, okay? Now, this Broward County nurse announces the COVID crisis. So here's the question, back to the vaccine and the placebos. So if you get a shot in your arm, is there swelling there? Is there nothing whatsoever? Some people get a mild fever. You kind of get symptoms of what this thing is supposed to protect against. Now, the mRNA vaccine, and this is very important, link number 2. These top 2 are like must-watch, mandatory homework campers. Short, sweet, and very accurate and, just, we'll say, illuminating, right? This is David Martin talking about the mRNA with Dr. Judy. And the mRNA vaccine is to create pathogens. And Martin makes the point, if you acknowledge it's a vaccine, you lose your argument because it's not a vaccine, it is a technology. Don't forget, this is the guy who does venture capital investments into patents and intellectual property. Very excellent, worth listening to. So the mRNA is intended to create pathogens. So you get they're calling it what, cytokine storms. But the fact is they can't call this a vaccine because by definition it is not a vaccine, right? Interesting. Somebody's commenting Insurgency America. Yeah, I don't know. What are you talking about, that Sullivan guy? Nah, he is. Where the lab rat says Marty. Hello, Marty. This is a very important argument that he presents. So my point is twofold. If they, and I mean dilute the distribution with placebos, it reduces the potential impact and bad press, right? Number 1. Number 2, here's what I said a long time ago. I said, when they create this vaccine, before I realized what this was and we were properly educated, the thing is, it's going to make more people contagious. And that's exactly what this shit's going to do. So now, since it doesn't stop the transmission of this virus, and I know people say, well, it's a virus that doesn't exist. Yeah, okay. Here's the point. If it doesn't stop the transmission of this, if it doesn't protect you against getting the COVID disease, it's going to make more people contagious. that is going to add to further cases, further lockdowns, further, shall we call it, draconian actions. And my question is this really intended to damage people? Or is it really intended to create more of a spread and thus more of a lockdown? What's the real game here? Look at the first one, the dark winter, because this is a political manipulation, big time. If you have time and interest, do read Reiner Fuel Mix cease and desist letter to Drosner, or Drozden, what the hell's his name? But he's the guy in Germany, and it's not to the publication. I'm looking here to see where it is. I don't think I put it in here. I'll put that in at the end because there's not enough in here. Looking. It's under, the link is in the show notes on the interview yesterday, which is amazing, and you should watch it. Now, I left off on the list of the Broward County nurse. This is the YouTube. It's a 2-minute thing. Share that. Let's get the word out. Let's see if Broward County has a COVID crisis. Now, is this going to be because you're going to have people spraying it out there the way Webb and Cottrell think? Or is it because they're going to spin up PCR tests? Or are they going to start calling it everything is COVID? Or what? Or a combination? I don't know. Let's see how they play that. Let's see. Because she says this is so corrupt. What, they're just going to start calling everything COVID? Or are they going to actually spritz it? I don't think this nurse was saying they're going to spritz it, but she was saying this system is corrupt and should be taken down. If they know this is coming and they're fabricating it and or they're spreading it, these are serious crimes against humanity. I would personally like to ask basis of her belief of a COVID crisis next week. Wouldn't that be an interesting question to ask? Okay. Now, someone put in a great explanation for Lin Wood, why he was removed from the Carter Page case. Now, that knucklehead, what is it, the mountains of Nepal? Yeah. That's just why I don't follow him. And I told you yesterday, protect your mind. Do not let garbage in, right? Lin Wood was removed from the Carter Page case. And actually, I'm not sure, is he removed or is he in the process of the judge deliberating? The bottom line, and this was excellent, and they put a link into this guy who was he's the attorney up out of Canada, which I had issues with last year, and somebody got mad at me because I called him an idiot. I don't like to call people idiots. He's not an idiot. I don't like the way he edits his stuff. He sits in the car, reminds me of somebody else, but he doesn't have any good background music. But what he does do is he cuts the clips and everything is up. So he'll say something, cut it, and he just removes any breathing space. Doesn't work for me. His argument here, though, and I think he's right, and he looks like he pulled the documents, is that Lin Wood was admitted into Delaware pro hac vitae to represent Carter Page. And the pro hac is like a special dispensation by the court to allow you to practice law in a case where you're not licensed. Instead, you are being admitted pro hac vitae, and you come in under the wing of somebody else on that case, right? Now, any misbehavior, misconduct, or ripples in the pond, you can have that special dispensation removed. It is at the discretion of the court, period. So it's not a bar association thing. It's not a grievance committee. It's the judge saying, hey, you're out of line, bucko. I'm pulling your approval. I approved it. I unapprove it. And that's what it looks like. That's the simplest term. But what's his name? Ted Nepal there. He couldn't figure that out. Instead, he makes these outrageous allegations. But remember, Q will swing in and save us. Yeah. But the fences are getting bigger. And is there razor wire there or just on some of them? The fences are getting bigger. The perimeter is expanding. I was told there's razor wire on some of those fences from my sources. I saw a video from Ann Vandersteel I didn't see razor wire on those fences. Interesting. And she said you had boys there, young guys, without weapons, and now you have men with weapons. These are older guys who have experience with some gray hair. You have to live long enough to get that rank. Well, now. So that's why Lin Wood is being removed, and it's an interesting discussion. Check that out. The next one is the Supreme Court opinion on the Catholic Diocese versus Cuomo. That's the one that I had also pinned, and I added it to the interview in the links there, right? Jay Miller Jones is back. Razor wire creates that warm, fuzzy feeling, yes. Yep, I was saying razor wire. Yep, I didn't see him yet, but I was told by very reliable sources that are there and said razor wire. I'm like, wow. Next, here's one. After the Supreme Court opinion, which I haven't read yet, and I thank Vilma for finding this. She pinned it, so I'm sharing it with you for your legal edification. This is the opinion that Mary Holland was discussing that creates the fundamental right and the analysis on the religious issue. And somebody made the point about gun rights, and I respond with the question, hey, what kind of right is the right to bear arms? That's the Second Amendment, right? That makes it what kind of right? 2 points. Come on, I'm going to wait for this one. A fundamental right. It is articulated, enunciated, and listed. It is a fundamental right. And what Mary was saying is that more rights have been, even though they're not included directly in the Constitution, they're there, right? So clearly, the fundamental right is there, requiring strict scrutiny. It doesn't mean they can't be limited. It means that there has to be strict scrutiny applied by the court to have a compelling government interest to override your fundamental rights. And usually the restriction falls, okay? I think I got to do a shirt that says fundamental rights. That'll be fun. All right, CDC restricts foreign travel to the U.S. based on negative COVID tests. Gailey over at Rainbow Food Rocks sent me this. She did a screenshot, and what she sent, it looked like Redfield was saying, all travel within the U.S. will be restricted. Untrue. Only travel coming into the U.S., foreign to the U.S., must pass and must show a negative COVID test. Doesn't mean it's a PCR. They didn't articulate which one. This was signed by Redfield, head of the CDC, I think on the 12th. I'm putting the link into the CDC website, and it says negative COVID-19 air passengers. So they are restricting travel into the U.S. Okay, interesting. When will it be restricted within the U.S.? I don't know. Let's ask Cuomo, and what's his name up there? De Blasio. Yeah, you go into New York, you get quarantined. I still want to know why isn't that being challenged on obstruction and interference of the Commerce Clause. I don't know. Bill Barr told all of his U.S. attorneys to keep a lookout for constitutional violations. And none of these guys has the brilliant insight to consider a constitutional challenge based on a violation of the Commerce Clause. Interesting. All right, CDC restricts foreign travel into U.S. based on negative COVID test. That's the last link. Is that enough for you? But definitely check out Mary's. Check out the first two here. And I'm going to bail out on you. It's 44 minutes. It's a long window. It's good to know that the blue screen in the background. What'd you think? Nobody commented on the backdrop? Somebody made the comment, we missed the old days in the car. I know. We need to have some background music. Maybe we'll do that later. But if you play any of that Zeppelin background music, it's Gollum food, so we're behaving ourselves. All right, campers, if you like the thinking, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe. I'm putting in the links, and I haven't finished my thank yous. I'm going to sit down and do that, and I will announce when they're done. Making bigger production out of that than needed, don't you think? Wow. All right, I've got the PayPal link for direct contributions to support the channel. We are not advertising, sponsored, and funded, and we don't get interrupted with that guy that says, hey, stop clicking around. No, we don't have Cracker Boy. And we have viewer-supported FJ. And then we have the Patreon account from our patrons, who I thank greatly, and brought to you by our patrons and viewer sponsors. So please feel free to contribute and keep the boat afloat. FJ. All right, guys, thank you much. Somebody made the comment about Travis, and he sent me something. In fact, he sent me the Dark Winter. Was it? Was it the mRNA? I don't remember. But I had already taken that. It was the mRNA. I had already seen that. And I don't remember if somebody posted it or it pinged up. I don't know. But interesting. So I pinged them back, and it's perfect because I actually had it in the list twice. First two links are huge. I'd love your comments and thoughts. Share and check out The Nurse on the BitChute channel, giving notice of a COVID crisis next week. Well, now. All right, campers, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later. Bye for now. FJ out.